Hello and welcome, as it is 24th day of December 2017. It's a Sunday. Welcome, happy holidays, and let's get started. Now, where's my notes? Because, yes, there they are. What I want to talk about today is this RDD, which I talked about just earlier on the 2.5 minute warning. Not much on such. Yesterday, I talked on the 2.5 minute warning about the 400 minute average and how all the coins were in the correctionary phase. I'm going to follow up on that quickly after this. I'm not going to spend much time on Reddcoin. The Litecoin strategy that I'm playing on the short term, I've already talked about the long term with it. If you're not familiar, that would be my 2018 Litecoin strategy. I think I named it something close to such. And 4 individual codes: Dash, Monero, OK Cash, and NAV. All right then. So I talked earlier on the 2.5 minute warning about this code RDD that just shot up fast from like 70 Satoshi to like close to 200. Well, more than double, very close to, or about exactly tripling its gains. 2.7x. And then it comes back down and it hovers in the area of around the 120s to 130. Now it's looking to resist this area. So whenever you have this big move, how is it going to correct the situation? You really need to stay significantly above where it came from, which is where it is now. So I don't know if this is going to be a real pump, fake pump as they call it, nor do I really need to care, because the methodology that I use within my trading has worked very, very well. I showed that in the last video. I'm not going to talk about that more. But the reason in which I would be buying on the way back is not because something goes way up and it's back down a little bit, although that's an interesting strategy in itself, but because I sold everything at a top. I just want to make sure, in case it's real, then I will be able to get my successful buyback, and if not, then I've already profited on this trade so far. Now let's switch this over to the Bitcoin crossed with the US dollar. And after the big run up, the price action started to have a move within a declining 18 average in here. On the break of the support is where it had a very large leg down, or a relative, or not a very large one, maybe a large one. That's better, more than normal. And a very large one would have been even further, we'll say. But anyway, comes back up to its correctionary phase. So how are we going to play out? Obviously, it's falling through, so it doesn't look good. And that might be true. The significance is going to be within this most recent low. Because if this price doesn't get violated, and it stays with the 18 average as it's playing out, it will run out of room in order for downside movement to go. Thus, it would flatten out. Going sideways anywhere, finding support in here is enough to neutralize at least the downtrend. That's only a step towards the recovery section. And you need to see momentum above the 18 average of highs before you can start to be confident on a bullish level that the price action is going to be running forward high, or not forward high, is going to be running forward to the upside with good probability, and not only probability for the gains to come into play, but even time usually should happen relatively quick. But we do realize that if price action is showing weakness in this lower area, then this could test some lower levels in here. I think the next key support, the trend line, I would pierce below it, I would think, but the resistance of November 20th, 23rd area, it's already done this area already from the last hit. And that's on the if scenario. And for me, if it happens, it happens. That's the way the game's played. That's why I will be selling Bitcoins, profit taking every opportunity that I can, but making sure that I don't profit take enough that it's going to really hurt my portfolio. As like a situation of, well, just in case what I don't expect to happen happens, then I want to get at least whatever it is that I can within an investment that practically started with nothing, that has worked out very, very well so far. And within the Litecoin chart against the US fiat currency, it's in the same sort of realm. It's on the lower end of the 18 average correctionary phase. And if this shorter term level of support comes into place, the deep level is previous low. But if it's able to hold a higher low, even if it's well below the 18 average of lows, which is where current price action happens to be, then that's not going to be destroying the market. And I still think that if any of these support levels, with all of these codes, at least the ones that, the main ones anyway, if they break and there's price action has even 100, because that's where it came from, then it would probably have a good chance of having a similar quick bounce, sort of like in here, where it will shoot up fast from that level, probably go from like 100 to like 150 to 190 relatively fast. And I am in full confidence, of course, within such that I'm taking the risk reward. And the strategy that I've been trying to do is accumulate as many Litecoins as possible. I don't want to overextend the portfolio, though some might say it already is, taking a what I call a calculated risk reward situation. So I've went through basically my entire portfolio, and I even showed what it was like probably like 2 weeks ago, a week and a half ago. It has totally had a makeover, basically, in the sense that I don't have as many altcoins. I went through all of them. Oh, I got a lot of this one yesterday. Okay, I got a lot of UBQ. Okay, let's just sell 30%. In fact, I got my notes written somewhere again. ARK, I sold like 25% of my ARK, 20% of my Bitcoin Cash, 20% of my cannabis, 20% of my cloak coin. I sold 30% of my ETC, 40% of my GSR. I sold like 30% of my Komodo. I sold 20% of my NEO, 30% of my NEM, 25% of my PIVX, 30% of my POWR, 30% of my Smart Cash, 40% of Zen, and 35% of UBQ, and even 20% of Verge as well, because those were codes that had more than I wanted in BTC value, and they were one easy way where I could try to accumulate Litecoin, and I did, because I think Litecoin is going to be going up very much so. And within this Litecoin cross with Bitcoin, I'm taking this pattern very, very seriously. Price action is holding and staying above this 1.019 level for hours and hours and hours now. I can't say when it's going to be poised to break, but it should be pretty much due to come into a nice little breakout. And if you see price action 0.021, 0.02087 area, then it's probably, especially when you see some good volume coming in, oh baby, this thing can go off pretty good. Now what I'm doing on Cryptopia is trading several different codes against Litecoin, and those are the ones I mentioned. I sold like this much of that and that and that, because I think those coins are going to go down against Litecoin as a Litecoin rally, especially if you see this go to 0.03, 0.04, 0.05, and I think it definitely has the potential to do that in a short period of time, days, maybe even hours, but yeah, relatively realistically speaking, days to get there, that the prices of every other crypto against Litecoin will be much cheaper. I've ensured that my buy orders, that I'm buying stuff against Litecoin, is significantly lower than where price action stands right now. Because what I don't want to be doing is buying alternate coins for Litecoins at the price levels that are not so good, meaning Litecoin goes to 0.0225, 0.023, 0.024. Good gain, but nothing spectacularly great. And I noticed that, oh, buy order, buy order, buy order. Because that's what happens when Litecoins rally. I'm going to be buying alts for Litecoin, and when Litecoin goes down, I'll be selling alts for Litecoin. But the problem with doing that, you'll see, oh, I bought some Dash here, I bought some Monero there, or I bought some Reddcoin there, or Verge there, or whatever here or there. And yet, if you wait a little bit, you're going to get better deals than that. Now, the easiest way for me to have the orders get executed is just put the buy orders in place. Now, one could say, well, just have your buy orders out and then wait until the price is so high to put them in. And that's not a bad strategy. However, what I always hope for is if, say, this does go to 205, that maybe I will sell some Litecoin for some other altcoin because people are panicking, and I'll end up buying something at a huge discount like I mentioned before with the Ethereum Classic, when I bought it for like 80-90% or off the price of what it was. So that's what I'm always going to be hoping for. I'm going to have the orders in ready to go, but I'm ensuring that they are much, much lower than normal. Let's take a quick look at this chart on other time frames, and then I'm going to talk about those 4 codes, which would be Monero, Dash, NAV, and OK Cash. And we'll use the 3-day chart. Generally speaking, when you come back to previous high, you don't expect it to go up anymore. Be your level of resistance. And it's so easy to tell where big resistance came from. But in this situation, it has now been, it's 4 of the last 5 periods, including this one, is hovering within this upper area. As we've seen on the short term, how amazingly this looks like it's going to want to break out. And that's what you do if you looked at this chart for the first time. You're like, oh my goodness, this looks like it might be good. And then you'd see the daily chart and the 400-minute chart or the 4-hour chart. You'd be like, wow, this looks really good. So because of that consolidation, if this thing again breaks out above these levels, it could be interesting and fun because it's got track record of major gains before. And of course, the whole crypto space does as well. All you need are just 1 or 2, definitely just one big announcement to come in that's going to just get the thing going. And I wouldn't be surprised if something like that were to happen. Of course, I'm using a lot of what the Webbot has been talking about but it's been doing so well so far. And when I was looking yesterday at the codes to sell for Litecoin, everything but the 4 that I mentioned, I didn't sell when I had a larger position than I normally would. Dash, I got a very decent sized position, but nothing compared to Litecoin. Monero, same thing. And OK Cash is okay. Same with NAV. It's more than it normally would be, saying that it's got some gains for me. So let's take a look at NAV. I haven't seen it since yesterday. And we'll use a daily time frame. And this is such a nice pattern that I like here. Because we look at the 18 average. It's a good reason it's the only main indicator that I use. And it's declining and then going sideways to down in there. This is the sideways action. Now it's starting to ride higher. So that's part of the reversal of trend. Step 1, as far as reversal of trend, is break resistance, which occurred right in here. And so therefore, it's had a good correction to the 18 average of lows, and I've liked how it's recaptured it. Now back up to the 18 average of highs. This thing is something I'd normally be like, man, I want to buy this. But I already own it for a good amount, so I don't need to. And I think that once it breaks past this key level of resistance and around the 18 to 20 handle, that this thing could be ready to go up and at least to this previous high mark as a key possibility. Let's next move on to the OK Cash. And within such, we we can see that it has been riding the 18 average of highs as support for the past few days, and today it's looking to be breaking out past this point. Now you could think the last two times it did it, it failed. No, it passed. No, it passed. See, it did it here where it went up and then it came back. It meant you sold a little bit here and you bought a little bit back, and then you sold it back again, and then you bought it back again. So you're looking to sell it back again, basically. And will it have at least a decent sized rally? You know what? Maybe. But this is a good time to talk about the ending of bear markets. And this wasn't that big of a bear market as far as time. But if you have a decent sized bear market, sometimes, if you've heard before from analysts stating that ending a bear market is not an easy thing to do. It can take a lot of effort, a lot of time to correct a market. Well, here's on the start of November, a shot where it tried to, but not quite, but it didn't break support. Then it tried again. Okay, successful support. No, it fell right here. But it did hold and stay there. And well, now it's attempting again. So the more times you try, I'm not going to say the more likely it is you succeed, but it's on that theory that the more often you do try, the better it is that you were off from before. And then it's just about time. And a lot of markets have had that type of pattern before. If you look at previous situations where before a big move, how many fake points were there. And even before the big move in September, we can see in here that you had just this rally attempt that came back in here. And ultimately, after a significant amount of days, it rallied further. Let's move on next to Monero. And this is a situation in which on its daily chart, it had a huge level of established resistance that got taken out just a few days ago. As this level in here, easy takeout, just so obvious, big move. And then the price action 2 days later comes back to where it came from, the 18 average of highs. Quick lift off from this point. And now it looks as if this thing might have had what we call a successful pump, successful rally, because how is it going to handle its correctionary move via price and or time? And if it can do so successfully, then how are you doing? Sometimes you just set up a lot of resistance though, which was the case back in November, December, where the first rally from here to here, well, it had a good price correction, comes back in here, but it doesn't take it out. It developed a huge range, and when it did break such, then nice little gains. And maybe the same thing has to happen again, where it's going to need some time to develop some resistance and maybe come back to that level, pull back a little bit. And that's the interesting thing about technical analysis. If you have the situation like we see here, we come back to where it came from, 18 highs, and price action has a couple periods where it just stabilizes in here, then all of a sudden you start to have a rally to the previous high. I have no idea what the situation is going to be, because I could fully see where there's going to be little to no resistance there, and the thing will just fly through higher, at least make a move to the previous high in from before. But then maybe it will be resistance like it was, of course, a few times into November. And it doesn't even have to get up to that area. We can see the first time in which that was the case, where it came up to in previous level, it was lower. So this could be the same thing here, where it maybe comes up towards here, maybe comes in, and you're just developing a bigger level of resistance if something like that's to take place. Let's move on to the final chart, which will be Dash. But before I do, I got to show the weekly chart on this, as the reason why I'm so bullish on this situation is how well this is corrected over the last 1.5 years. With the rally that took place in the middle of this chart. And I'm referring to this consolidation in here. Resistance, right where the line is. I don't have to draw it because it's already drawn in where the green line is. Hit on several occasions. This one here, like I say, sometimes it goes a little lower, sometimes it goes a little higher. But it also states that it had a good effort. good try, you would say to the athletes if it was a comparison to sports, because it was a good try. And when you have a good effort and you come up a little short, it's like a professional fighter who, when they get knocked down, they get right back up. And then, of course, within this pattern, it just looks as if ready to break, that this thing's ready to go. I just have a hard time wanting to sell it. Dash has a good pattern on its weekly charts. Let's put up its weekly and daily time frame now. And like Monero, it's got a nice long sideways consolidation. Not as long. This is only for the last 9 or 10 months. So therefore, it's at the upper end of this sideways consolidation. It's left the 18 average. Is it ready to break above it? I'm not going to say I think so, but the best way is just to be long and ready to go. And on the daily time frame, one of the things that has caught my eye is what happens every single time that comes up to this point, where you'd have a sharp sell-off in here, very sharp sell-off, and as was the case back in here, this high had a sharp sell-off, but this high that we just recently had this little sell-off in here to previous resistance, and is now rebounded, came back to the area holding, and staying within this area. This is super strong in my book. I had a hard time pulling the lever despite the fact that I've got a lot of Dash coins, even in my hardware wallet, so I could technically sell a bunch and still have a bunch back. But I think this thing is going to live up to its name and dash up towards the upside. All right then, so this will be the conclusion to your Christmas Eve video. There might be one later tonight, like 9, 10, 11 o'clock, but there's definitely no guarantees on that. In fact, it would probably be questionable or 50-50. The 2.5 minute warning for tomorrow will occur earlier in the morning. Usually I like to put it out around 9:30 a.m. Eastern time. So you can expect it maybe about an hour earlier, maybe 8:30 a.m., 8:15 a.m. Eastern time for that one. And have yourself a great, safe, and joyous, happy holidays. Take care. Bye-bye.